Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the first video in my new series, Budget versus Brand. In this series I'll be using and comparing supplies from both well-known brands that we often use and love and also the budget alternatives available. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you two 12x12 layouts, one using the Crepe Paper Heart Day collection and one using the Dovecraft Xoxo collection. What I'm doing here is using some white gesso I picked up at Hobbycraft just to prime the white cardstock I'll be using. While I've left those two sheets to dry, I'm just going to mat down onto black cardstock and trim my photos down. In this series I'm hoping to show that you don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to make beautiful layouts and to enjoy scrapbooking. Sometimes when you start scrapbooking it can seem very overwhelming as there is a lot of product to buy and a lot of people are using branded products that can be quite expensive, especially when you're starting out. I'll be taking you through lots of different supplies including alphabet stickers, paper pads, whole collections, pens, stamps, inks and cardstock. I'll be using supplies from local scrapbooking stores to me in the UK, online in the UK, worldwide, and also a lot of supplies from America. On this layout I really wanted to try and use some of my spray mists and inks and kind of create a watercolour effect background. I've never done this using gesso on the background before, so it was definitely an experimental process, but overall I do love the effect they gave. The inks that I'm using is a Well Red mini mist from Studio Calico, and I'm also going to be using the white Tidy Swap Colour Shine. Next time I try this technique, I think it would be useful if I was to add a little bit of water afterwards, just to really help it move on the page. I am using textured cardstock here, and I'm wondering if that's why it just sits on top, it doesn't really move anywhere. But I'm sure that's something that does come with practice and with time. And now I'm taking some dry tissue paper and just dabbing it on the top. As well as helping it dry quicker, it also really brought out the shimmer in the Heidi Swap Colour Shine. You can't really tell when it's lying flat so much, but it has a beautiful pearly iridescent sheen to it. I do think I added a little bit too much gesso to my background, so I'm just trying to wipe some up here as it was pooling a little bit and not completely dry. The first collection up to date is the Dovecraft Xoxo collection. I'm using the 6x6 paper pad and also some die cut heart stickers. I did already pre-cut the triangles I'm going to be using as a feature on this layout, but I wanted to show you how I made them, just making a simple 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch square, turning it diagonal and then slicing them in half using my trimmer. I'm now just going to start piecing together the geometric heart shape which will be on the layout. I wasn't really sure what I wanted where when it came to the beautiful pattern papers. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get two exactly the same next to each other. Once I have most of the shape down on the paper, I'm just going to go off camera and stick them down using some double-sided sticky tape. I always spend far too long fighting with the tape to do it on camera. The photo I'm using for this layout is one of my husband and I. This was from last Christmas when we visited the Santa Fe Christmas tree farm. If you're in the UK and you love Christmas, I definitely recommend that you pay a visit to them. For my title, I'd already worked out roughly what I wanted to have. I had a sheet of gold foil stickers from Studio Calico which had you and me on it, and then I also had an acetate piece saying True Love. So I'm just using my favourite thickers, the doll thickers, to make an equal sign out of two full stops. I'm just now picking some washi tape. I've decided to go for a red and white polka dot and a dusky pink with white hearts on Both of those come from Hobbycraft. I'm now wanting to add some more depth and texture to my photograph, so I'm using some of the pattern papers in the collection to bulk it up and really showcase the photo a little bit more. Normally I do go for clean straight edges, but I did decide to rip on this layout. Multiple places I ripped the paper, which it was a little bit squeamish for me, but I love the way it turned out. I'm loving trying lots of new and different techniques on all of my projects. Something I was loving when I was using these papers and this collection is, although it's a Valentine's themed collection and heavily love based, the papers are so versatile. There was a lot of different patterns and tones in the papers, and they weren't something that could only be used at Valentine's Day. A lot of them would make great backgrounds and great for layering behind photos. They'd also come in really handy in Project Life, whether that would be Project Life cards or to back your photos on, and you'd really get more use out of that 6x6 pad. I do add some more black cardstock behind the photo layers here, just to keep the lines between the geometric heart and the photo separate. As I'd used the same papers for the heart and for the photograph, I wanted it to be very clear where they ended from each other. Now I'm just going to make a different layer out of those two washi tapes that I picked earlier on, and then I'm going to stick down the photograph on top of them. I really enjoy using washi tape on my scrapbook layouts and my Project Life spreads. I love the fact that washi tape comes in so many colours and options, and if you go on sites Amazon and eBay, you can find it so cheaply and affordably, and you're always going to find something that works with the supplies that you have. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter if you have a huge collection of washi tape because it's pretty. Very pretty. And I think that's why I have way too much. I'm just going to check on my title now and also where I want to put it. I couldn't decide if I wanted it in the middle of the heart at the bottom, if I wanted it to the side, at the top. I'm just going to, before stapling it down, trim off the ends of my washi tape. And sorry if so many of the things I'm doing are slightly off camera. I'm still trying to get used to where to hold my arms to catch everything. I'm just using a normal stapler that I picked up from my local Tesco's. I do love the tiny attacher by Tim Holtz that everybody seems to be using, but I just can't justify that for a stapler that does the same thing. I will say, although these stickers from Studio Calico are beautiful, they are very, very flimsy, and I have torn a couple of them when trying to use them in different projects. So if you have the same stickers, or if you're using some stickers that are very similar from somebody else, do be careful or you may end up splitting them in half. Even though I used the gesso as a primer for the background, I still did get quite a lot of warping, so I'm just going to back it onto some black cardstock to give it a little bit more stability. I really do like the look of having my page bordered by a patterned paper or by a black cardstock, but I will admit that most of the time I don't want to waste a whole sheet of paper by just backing it onto another project. I'd rather just use that one sheet of paper. I do tend to hoard a lot of papers rather than use them, so maybe that's why. I'm just now going to add a little piece of double-sided sticky tape to the back of some of those triangles, just as I really wanted them stuck down, and as I'd moved over the papers they'd lifted a little bit. So now I'm just looking through some different embellishments and stamps, trying to find what I want to put onto the layout next. Using some stamps from a recent Studio Calico kit, which has a cloud of the word love written on it. I'm going to just stamp that in 3 different places around the heart and on the layout, just to add another little bit of the black from the cardstock at the back. I'm really trying to make more of an effort to use a lot of my stamps now. I really love stamps and I have quite a collection of them, but I just don't find myself reaching for them that often. I have found that since trying to not be such a perfectionist, I have been enjoying both my layouts and my products a lot more, and I've been enjoying the process a lot more. This is my first time using Stays on ink, so I wasn't actually aware it would stain my stamp. I thought that the ink just wasn't coming off and that when I would use it next it would have black all over it. Now I'm just programming the date into the roller date stamp so I can attach that to the top left of the layout. A roller date stamp was one of the first items I bought for scrapbooking, and I never actually used to get that much use from it, but I'm finding now, especially since being poorly, that having the dates of photos and events and happy special memories really does make all the difference, and it's extra nice when other people are looking through your album that they can tell when layouts are from. So now, after stamping the date, I'm just tearing up the edge there and adding some double-sided sticky tape to the back so I can attach that to the top. I'm then going to use the same washi tapes that I used underneath our photo layer just to bring them somewhere else into the layout and also add a little bit more detail to the top corner. I haven't quite yet mastered the art of clusters, but I will say that I think I'm starting to get there, even if it is a bit slowly. I'm just then going to staple that on as well to continue the theme from the True Love acetate at the bottom. Now I'm using a jelly roll pen just to write Santa Fe at the top of where I've put the date. I do like to add a little bit of handwriting to most layouts as I find it gives it a little personal touch. Now I'm bringing in the die cut heart stickers from the collection. They have them in this beautiful pale pink with a pinky purple glitter over the top and a red with a burgundy glitter over the top. I'm going to be using, I think, a pink one on this layout. And also a red enamel heart from a Studio Calico pack. I'm then going to add a further red one to the top of the page next to where we've put the date. And here is the layout done. The next collection I'm going to be using is the Crepe Paper Heart Day collection. I do have more of this collection. There's a 12x12 chipboard sticker sheet, a 6x6 paper pad, and then a pack of puppy stickers. I'm just now going through the 6x6 paper pad, tearing out the rest of the pages I used when I was doing some punching as prep work for this layout. I absolutely love this collection. There's so many beautiful, pretty papers that you almost don't want to use as they're just so pretty. So off camera I used 2 of my heart craft punches to die cut the strips of paper to make lots of different little mini hearts. I'm going to use them on the background to create a bursting with love effect. I made myself a template here for the size of the hearts that I wanted to use. I just folded a piece of cardstock in half, cut out half a heart, and then used that with washi tape to stick on the background to trace around. When I'm using washi tape on a layout like this to simply hold something in place or to mask something or to align something, I make sure that I take off most of the tack either on the back of my hand or using my wrist, just as that way it doesn't tear your paper, it's repositionable and is great at just holding something in place. Once I've traced those hearts onto the background, I'm going to take once again my ink and mist and a piece of packaging to create another watercolour background. I do think, as I said with the previous layout, I definitely will be investing in a water spray bottle just to water down this and get a more diluted watercolour effect. I'm trying to place it in between the gaps of the hearts, but also to get a little bit on the edges. And here I really am just picking up the packaging and crinkling it and smushing it on the paper. I'm going to then take some more tissue and to dab that dry. Now I'm taking the die cut hearts and laying them out in a heart shape using the tracing lines that I've previously made. Even the placing of them into the shapes here before sticking them down took such a long time. I do think it was worth it. I do love the background in the end, but I didn't quite anticipate how long it would take. Once all of those hearts are down and in place, I'm going to stick them down off camera using more double-sided sticky tape. Now I'm taking the cut-offs of the 6x6 papers to layer behind my photograph. I absolutely love this little heart emoji paper, so I'm trying to chop it to use as little as possible. I love layering papers behind photos. I think it's the perfect way of getting messy and creative and crafty without actually making a mess. I'm sorry if you heard a belch in the background, that would be my husband. As I'm recording my voiceover, he's playing on his computer games and feels it necessary to burp very loudly. Comparing between the two sets of 6x6 papers, I will say I found the Dovecraft Xoxo papers a lot easier to work with. I found they just tend to flow together a lot easier. As you can see, it's not only my double-sided sticky tape I fight with, but also my trimmer. Speaking of the devil, I'm now going to back my photo and layers with lots of double-sided sticky tape ready to stick down. Now I'm going to make some DIY embellishments from some Studio Calico stamps. In my last kits I got these little arrow stamps that have phrases on them, and I have been dying to stamp them and chop them up ever since. If you've been wondering about Studio Calico and whether they're worth it and if they're expensive, I would highly recommend their stamps. Even if I don't love a kit, I normally really enjoy the stamps. The two stamps I'm using here say the best and love it. I do also try this I love this tab stamp, but I don't end up using it on this layout. I couldn't get a really good impression with the stamp today, so I decided to just go with the two that I had. I love the fact that you can always make your own personal embellishments by just using your stamps and cutting them out. I'm not very good at fussy cutting, so it was definitely a challenge even though they were pretty simple arrows. So in this layout I'm going back to using the black embroidery floss I used in my last video. I really wanted to create some contrast behind the photo to separate the background and just add a bit of more dark in to stop it being too pink. I still haven't quite got the knack to this yet. I tend to get a bit more tangled or flat or knotted, but I really do like the effect of it. As you can see, it takes me quite a few attempts to get this right. After adding some more embroidery floss, I'm just going to pop the photo down. Once I'd stuck the photo down, there was actually no thread at the top, so I had to try and pick it from the double-sided sticky tape at the back. I think I ended up getting more of my nail varnish on the back of the photo than thread at the top of the page. Now I'm going to choose from some of the embellishments on the 12x12 chipboard sheet. I really love these black and white hearts. I used them in my last video as well. If you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to put a link to it in the description box below. I'm just trying to work out where to put my stamped arrows, and I find that I really love them on the right hand side of the photograph. So once again, I'm just fighting with the double-sided sticky tape, trying to put it on the back of them to stick them down. And there's even more fighting with the tape. I've just actually realised that I used the tab I stamped earlier on. I stick it at the top of the photograph in between the layers. Not quite sure why I thought I didn't use it. Maybe because I couldn't get the perfect stamp. Now I'm taking the puffy heart stickers from the collection and I'm going to match them up with the faces in the background to add some extra dimension throughout the layout. Some of the faces on these stickers are unbelievably adorable. There's a heart that has a monocle and a top hat and a moustache. There is winky eyes hearts. There is kissy pouty faces, and my favourite, the angry ones. Once again, I'm using the doll thickers for my title. I'm going quite simple with just the black this time, and it's going to say Family Love. The photo I'm using on this layout was actually our family photo from our December daily last year. It's me and my husband and our kitty, who's actually more like a baby than a kitty. We'd just got back from my husband trying out for his American football team, and although it's not the greatest photo, I really love it anyway. I'm just taking the tack off of a piece of silver washi tape here so I can stick that to the layout to line up my thickers properly. Once I finish the layout, I will go back and add some of my tacky glue to the back of these stickers. I find especially once you put them in the album they tend to move, especially if they're the chipboard ones. I love with these stickers that they have uppercase and lowercase. Sometimes I don't want to spell everything in caps, and it eats at me if I don't start the first letter with a capital. And I'm just going to go back to the 12 by 12 chipboard now. I'm going to use another one of the face puffy hearts, and I will eventually pop it up with some white foam on the back. I also got quite a lot of warping on this layout, so I'm going to once again back it onto some black cardstock. It isn't actually shown on camera, but I do add 2 of the chipboard X's or kisses after the Family Love title. I'm now just going to staple around the 4 edges as I really wanted to add some metal tones. And now I'm just going to take my StazOn ink and stamp the date underneath the photograph. I did stamp off here multiple times, leaving a faded effect on the date. I'm just going to add a small and large black enamel dot now next to the heart and arrows. And then at the top left hand corner where I added the staple, I'm going to use 2 tiny word stickers, one that says quality time and one that says love. I'm then going to repeat the small and large black enamel dot at the top as well. And here is the second layout done. I'm now going to show you the supplies that I used and the layout that I created for both the Heart Day and Xoxo collections. I've really enjoyed filming the first video for my Budget versus Brands series, and I hope to be back with another video for it soon. Please stay tuned for the stills and close-ups at the end of the video, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.